Welcome everyone to the Reinventing You podcast. I'm your host, Alyssa Sulli, and I'm so excited today. You know, the Reinventing You podcast is all about having a place to go to learn about people who have reinvented their lives, whether that's around health and wellness, finances, career, your self and well-being, relationships, your spirituality. So many people in this world have stories to share that to help you know that you're not alone. And today we have an amazing story focused around career and entrepreneurship and passion. And I'm so excited to dive in and share some information about our guest, who is none other Lisa Hamilton Smith. She is a horsewoman and Olympic equestrian judge, an entrepreneur, a podcaster, speaker, and mindset coach. Lisa is a multi-passionate entrepreneur with a love for horses, speaking, leading, and inspiring people to live their dreams. When her love as a horse trainer and making a sustainable income became difficult, she found herself in a passionless conventional job, unfulfilled and unsettled. She knew in her heart her life could be so much more than what she was settling for, and soon returned to the horse world and beyond after training as a life coach under personal development leaders Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi, and becoming a certified NLP and emotional freedom techniques practitioner. Today, Lisa thrives in doing what she loves, working with horses, and making an impact in the lives of those seeking to pursue their passion and live a life of their dreams. And she does this through her coaching, her Dream Team Life podcast, and her Equestrian Mastermind community. She is an unstoppable leader making an impact across the globe. Lisa, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to hear all about you and your journey in reinventing you.
Yeah, it's brilliant to be here. Thank you for inviting me. It's great to talk to you.
Oh, I love it. And so tell us where you're from. I want them to know.
Right. Well, I live just outside of London, about an hour outside of London, but I'm in a very rural area. I live on the Hampshire-Surrey border, and it's all woodlands and trees and heathland, and so it's very horsey.
Oh, that's awesome. That's wonderful. Well, I can't thank you enough for coming today. And I know you're a busy woman with all your entrepreneurial endeavors, but you, as you've mentioned before and in our connecting, you've got many reinventing stories, but you had one that you wanted to share today to support people who may be struggling in a specific area of their life. Do you want to go ahead and dive in and share with us?
Yeah. I mean, when you asked me for a story about reinventing myself, I was like, okay, which one? Because my whole life is a continuous reinvention. But I thought that the most relevant and actually one of the most recent reinventions would be fascinating for people. But just a little bit of backstory, because we have to look back. I'm somebody who lived in America and was married to a wealthy man and lived as a lady of luxury for a period of time in my life. And so I got used to sort of, the high life, shall we say. And then just fast forward 20, 30 years. And we find myself 4 years ago. I had by this point had a child. I was a lone parent. That means that there is a father somewhere, but he didn't have anything to do with my son. So my son and I came home to live with my mother, which was always quite an interesting thing to do when you go back home much later in life. But I went back home, and I had to figure out how I was going to raise my son alone. There was no father, there was no child support, there was no family support other than my own family. So I decided to get back into horses. I'd been living this life of luxury in America, and I decided to get back into horses. And I started teaching and training again, and I rebuilt. And I came back to England literally with a suitcase and a baby. I have to say, everyone should do that at least once in their life. Have baby, will travel. I'd had this life, and it had all gone horribly wrong, and that's a whole nother story, and I'm not going to go there now. But what was interesting that I had to start, and I had to think, Well, I'm in this tricky situation as a lone parent. I've got my parents to help me, and I had a place to live because I live with my parents. But what can I do to make myself happy again? Because obviously things have gone a bit wrong. So somebody asked me to go and ride their horse for them. And I went and rode their horse. I got paid a few pounds. And I remembered how much I loved that. And I just thought, well, my life hasn't quite gone to plan, but if I can ride horses, if I can be with horses again, then it's going to be okay. It's going to survive. So I started teaching and training, and that's I'd actually already judged in the Olympics in 1996, but I got to do that again, both in London and in Athens. And I built up my horse training and teaching business here, and that was all swimming, and that was all just so I was a horse trainer, and I lived with my parents. I didn't need to make a lot of money to just pay the bills because my parents were wonderful and helped me. And I put my son through private school, and I had plenty of money. I always had enough. I had 2 beautiful horses. Everything was going swimmingly for 16 years. And 4 years ago, now I'm going to get to my point, which is 4 years ago, my mother died. My father died about 10 years ago of cancer. My aunt had already died of cancer. My grandmother died of cancer. My other grandmother died of cancer. And then my mother died of cancer. And I'm not very good friends with cancer. It's not my best friend. So I only had 8 months to know from when my mother was diagnosed to when she died. And during that time, I started to think, oh my God, what will I do? Because I knew that I'd lose my home eventually, because I have a brother, and families, basically it was half each, plus there was a mortgage, and that I was going to become homeless effectively, and worse than that, I was going to lose where I kept my horses. Now I had at that point, well, I still do have 7 horses and ponies, and it's not like one horse I can move it to another barn. It's not like that. When you have 7, you're gonna have your own barn. You can't take 7 to anyone else's. Right. And I started to panic. Actually, I felt quite sick. So before my mother died, once she was ill, I knew it was inevitable we were going to lose her. I found a coach in Florida who, it's always like, we found a coach, right? There's always this clue, you found a coach or you found a mentor. Mm-hmm. And she started to teach me about Facebook. Now, this is 4 years ago when Facebook Live just started. I mean, and I had always secretly wanted to be a television presenter, as in my 20s. Yeah, that was my dream. But I was spineless. I didn't do anything with it. I just got busy. I got married to this wealthy guy. And I did lots of charity work. And I did some speaking back then. But, I just gave up on my dream, as so many of us do. We just shelve it. We think, well, that was a nice dream. That's all it ever is. And then I would see presenters on television. They seemed so good. And I thought, I can never be that good. But anyway, so coming back 4 years ago. So this Facebook coach, her name is Vanessa Rende. She was lovely. So she's a pivotal part of my whole transition. She got me to understand how to use Facebook groups. She taught me how to go live. She taught me about being authentic. This, my good friends and everyone listening, is the key to life. And it's the key to modern life now, because we live in a society where authenticity is valued more than anything else. And I can be authentic. I was afraid I couldn't present because I thought I had to be slick, like, ABC News or CNN or Sky. And I was like, well, I might get that wrong. I might say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing. But Vanessa Randy taught me that if I was me, people would actually, the right people who liked me, not everyone would like me. I probably am hated by quite a few people, but people that, I didn't need to please everyone. I only needed to have an audience that liked me. So that was a massive point. And that meant I started to build an online business. And I thought, well, okay, what are my skills? What do I know? I know horses. So originally it was just going to be about horses. And I started talking, sharing my teaching, my knowledge online. And I got some, I got some following. It wasn't massive. And then my mother died. Okay, so that threw me completely. I mean, this is always what happens in trust, where you start to do something, you get enthusiastic, but it's never, any entrepreneurial journey is never easy. It will have huge obstacles. The boulder will be thrown back at you, and you have to go round it, under it, over it. but you have to make a commitment and keep going. And I have to say, hands on heart, I didn't. I stopped for like a year. So having started this entrepreneurial journey, and I started something called My Ride Well Pony, which was to teach kids how to look after their ponies. And I just, the website went wrong. I got ripped off by some Indian designers. My mother died. I didn't know where to turn. And I just kind of walked away, not completely, but almost. I basically went back to my traditional teaching and training and carried on working really, really hard. But my heart wasn't in it. This is really strange. I'm not sure if it was because I had tasted something different, because really like my real calling was to speak and to present and to produce, or whether it was because my mother died, and obviously grief has a strange effect on us, or it was a combination of the two. But the teaching just didn't hold the magic for me anymore. I was still very good at it. I am to this day. I still teach, and I am very good at it, but I only do a little now. I just do enough to keep myself happy, you know, just a little bit of what I'm good at. But I just couldn't get back in my groove, and my clients left me. I mean, Tony Robbins always says, you know, life is what happens to you, you know, like what happens to you is always right, no matter what you think it's a disaster, it's all going horribly wrong. My clients have left, and I thought, my God, my life is over, my clients are leaving, but actually their leaving was a blessing. You know, it happens for you, life happens for you. You know, it's really important, but you just don't realize this at the time. So that meant I had more spare time. And I started to panic more about money, as we all do. So I went back to, well, hang on a minute, that Facebook Live thing, you know, and that My Rival Pony site that I got so frustrated with that I couldn't get finished. You know, I need to go back there. So I started again, and I was still digging through the treacle and struggling one way or another, but I started to do more online. Then one day I saw an ad on Facebook for Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi, something called the Knowledge Broker Blueprint. And I was like, wow, it's sell your expertise. I'm like, that's what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm trying to do. But I didn't have a clue. I had Facebook. That was all I knew to do, was basically do Facebook Lives. I didn't understand about courses. I didn't really understand about groups, because I'd only had a little bit of coaching from this lady before my mum died and I quit. And from that course and working with, then I fell in love with everything Tony did, and I went and did all this crazy stuff with Tony Robbins. And that meant that I discovered that not only could I sort of go Facebook Live, but I could create courses, I could create content, I could sell, I could create business using my knowledge. Mm-hmm. And again, I focused with the horses, and I created something called the Pony Parent course, which is for parents of pony mad kids. And I just got that off the ground, and I was actually doing real things. Then we got to last year, doing physical, people coming to me, and COVID happened, and then I couldn't run anything physical anymore. So I created this incredible thing, but I couldn't do it. And I was like, oh, I guess I have to do it online now. So I decided I was going to video edit my script, and I'm not very good at video editing. To this day, I'm still not very good. So guess what? That didn't happen. So I just sat there twiddling and we were in lockdown, and I literally sat there in the beginning of March, and this is why meditation is so good for you, and having an open mind and having like a beginner's mind at points in your life when you're not sure what to do, and then just think nothing, and sometimes the thoughts come. I was told, and I'm not religious, but I was told, like I heard in my head, it was like this voice going, okay, you need to do a mindset summit. I'm like, what? Mindset summit? Whoa, I don't know anything about mindset. But it was almost like, well, look, you've been through so much, and you keep going. You're facing being homeless. You have no money now. Your mother, your father's gone. My family and I had a family feud, so I still to this day have lost my entire family. My son and I are a family of two, and my horses. Wow. We are just alone. And I was like, okay, so mindset summit, and I knew a little, and Dean Graziosi, bless his heart, he had said to us in one of his live presentations, he said, go out there, make a difference during COVID, change people's lives, see what they need. They need connection, they need help, help people to focus on getting through. And I thought, oh yes, I can do that, I know about getting through. Because my whole life, I was a victim of domestic violence. I'm not going to go into all that now, but I'd had to pull myself through so many situations. Mm-hmm. So this one actually, with like having no money, being homeless, was relatively light compared to some of the others. But But every challenge is a challenge, no matter, we mustn't compare our challenges with other people. I mean, a challenge is a challenge, whether you're a multi-millionaire trying to save a building because, you've got 10 of them and you want to keep that one, or whether you're, a single mum trying to get money for food, it's still a challenge. And so now I've digressed myself. Yes, so the Global Mindset Summit. So I literally reached out to everyone I knew and got hold of 50 speakers to speak at my Mindset Summit in 3 weeks. And it was just because it was a non-profit thing. No one was going to get paid. There was no one there was no commerciality to it. And this is really important. I discovered something so important about living a life you love was because when I didn't have to worry about money, because I was in lockdown, I should explain, because we were in lockdown, couldn't work, couldn't leave the house. I just thought, well, I'm just going to do something I love. I had this idea and I threw myself 100% into doing this thing that I absolutely loved. And I got the people together, and then I actually found somebody who was going to help me. And this is a little interesting side story. And this lady came along, she said, I've got thousands of followers and I'm going to help you. And I was like, well, I don't know anything. I better listen to her. And I kind of let her take over a little bit. And then she started bossing me around and telling me what to do. And then I was at this massive, but this is my idea and this was my dream, and she's now taking over, and now she's changing it from what I wanted to do. And I had one of those big moments where do I give in or do I get rid of her? And then I had to stand up because there was part of me I can't do this alone. I mean, this is amazing. She's helping me. But the voice was, yes, you can. You can. If you believe you can, you can. And you just trust in yourself. You can do this. And so again, I chose to believe, and I said to her, no, we can't do it that way. And she fired herself and she resigned. So that was perfect. So I stood up for myself. And then I was like, but now I'm all alone and I have 10 days. So I did it. Anyway, cut a long story short, it went live. We had 50 speakers over 5 days. And I did my first ever mindset speech. So I introduced the summit, and I had to talk about, a little bit about my story. And I was like, I've never actually done that. I've only taught riding, right? And I thought, well, that wasn't so bad. That was all right, actually. That was kind of cool. And people were like, that was brilliant. I'm like, really? I mean, I was just waffling on about my story. And I gradually got more and more confident. And we did the summit. We've done the summit every single month. We do a pop-up summit. So we have a short version of it every month. And maybe 5 to 10 speakers come on. They talk about mindset. But that event of doing the Mindset Summit changed my life because it made me realize I could honestly, finally, I'd graduated, but I could create something out of nothing using my voice and my resourcefulness and finding ways to connect with people to make something to help others. And that's effectively what we do on online courses and training and speaking. We speak not because we like to hear the sound of our voice, but because we're going to give out information, or we're going to ask people for information that will help others. I'm a producer, really. I have a podcast like you, and actually they're quite similar. It's different but similar. It's about living a life you love. So there's but we do a reverse engineering thing on the podcast. So it's similar but different. But the idea was that I found my voice, and I realized I could make a difference. So this was massive. I could create things, I could speak, I could change people's lives. I had somebody call me just before Christmas, and she's watching me on Facebook, and she said to me, I can't remember her name actually. It used to be it was Cheryl Pop, but that's not her name now because she got married. Cheryl. So Cheryl phoned and said, I just wanted to let you know, I've been watching you for the last 10 years or something, and I can't believe the transformation, and you're so inspiring. And I'm like, what? My jaw drops. I'm like, really? And I had no idea I had people following me who were just watching my life, because I'm quite authentic and I do tend to share my life anyway. So we didn't stop with the Global Mindset Summit. One of the guests on there, Marissa Manrique, we did a Zoom interview and we talked about her manifestation techniques. And it went so well, she and I at the end of it went, wow, we should do this more often. And then we went, we'll do a podcast. So the Living a Life You Love is really our phrase for a manifestation podcast. So it's slightly different to yours. And it's really about...
Hold on, really quick. I want to kind of summarize things because you've shared a lot of valuable information. And I want people to hear and really wrap their head around it. you are a woman who has gone through a lot of challenges in your life, and you, whether that's, you know, the domestic violence, whether that's, you know, doing something you're passionate about and doing everything you possibly can, and losing everything, and then trying to find your way again, being an only single parent and raising a child, and the journey of finding your voice, living authentically, regardless of the situation that you've been exposed to. It's like there's something that keeps guiding you. But what I really want to understand is you keep going. You keep showing up. And I know that you speak and teach mindset, but can you share, you know, when life hits hard, or even if I'm just trying to put food on the table, as you mentioned, or I'm trying to save a building as an entrepreneur, how do you keep going? I know that you mentioned meditation. I know that you mentioned coaching, but there's a part of you, is there an inner dialogue? Is there something that is just guiding you to keep going even before you had the training that you have now?
Yeah. When I was 11, I wanted to be like a witch, like a good witch, okay? I believed in universal law. I believed in the law of attraction, even though I didn't understand what it was. I mean, now I read about it. But what
is the law of attraction for those who don't know? What is that?
So simply put, gosh, when you actually say what is the law of attraction, how you are, we're energy beings, okay? And so simply put, like attracts like. So who we are and how we are attracts similar. And then there's several. Deepak Chopra wrote a book called The Seven Spiritual Laws, or whatever. I forget what it's called now, but seven being a spiritual number. There was a phase about 20 years ago when everyone wrote these books with seven laws of. And I mean, like, there are laws of physics that everything, you know, that we have gravity. If you drop something, it falls down. But there are laws of attraction where if you're miserable and you think miserable thoughts, you basically act like a magnet for more misery. Yes. Okay. And if you are positive or happy, you act like a magnet for the same. And that's the simplest way of explaining it. And
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So it sounds like you, from a young age, even though you didn't understand the law of attraction, there was something in you that knew that if I maintain this positive mindset, maintain this perspective, if I keep persevering and going, even as a young child, there was something within you that trusted in that, and you persevered and you keep going and you keep thriving. And so if there's one tool that maybe someone could take from that, is that your perspective and how you're choosing to show up is probably affecting the results that you're getting. So from a mindset perspective, look at how you're thinking and shift it and try a different way. If you don't like it, you can always go back. if that doesn't work, but speak to that. Can you share some more around that?
Yes. Look, at the end of the day, it's what you believe. You get the life you believe you deserve. Okay, that's really what it means. So if you're thinking, I'm going to live this amazing life, you probably will. But if you're thinking it's going to be hard and I'm going to have to work so many hours and men are bad and jobs are horrible, then that's how life is going to show up for you. So I started off in life believing life was going to be wonderful. And I have to say, despite believing that, it wasn't always wonderful. However, it was that belief that I was meant to live my dreams, and that we are all meant to. Now, this is the belief. Like, you can have negative belief, like you believe, life's horrible and then you die. We all heard that life's a bitch and then you die. That's a very negative way to live through life. Or you can believe that we are all here, life happens for us, and that we are here for like a greater purpose, and we are here to be ourselves and experience joy. Now, you can see there's two different ways of looking at how things happen. Life is what happens to us, but we decide what life means. So life happens to us. There are factual things. You fall off your bike, you crash your car, you have a baby. That's a physical event. What actually that means, what you make it mean, what you allow it to mean, is up to what's in your head. So you can say, I could have said, my parents are dead, my life is over, I'm now going to go and be homeless and live off social security on a one bar and a little bedsit. And you know what? There are some people that do that kind of thing. I can't take it anymore, I'm giving up. I learned very early on that I believed, and then I learned, so I believed that we should all live our dreams. And I kept going, well, it doesn't make sense. Why? This can't be happening. I'm supposed to live my dreams. And then after that, I believed in not giving up. And so it was a combination, because it's not enough. You have to believe and you have to take action. You have to believe and you have to take action. So whenever life didn't work, I just got up, dusted myself off and went, okay, back to, change the plan, change the goal, whatever. But I kept going for believing that I should live my dreams. Because I have a life coach, and I spoke to her earlier on today. And I sent her the bio that I sent you, because you asked me some information. And she said, well, there you go, you see, you're living your dreams, you're speaking, you're doing this, you're doing that. And I went, oh yeah, because so I sort of had declared that this is what I wanted, and now it's happening, but it's happening because I didn't give up. I mean, first time I went live ever, no one came. There were tons of times I've done group presentations with one person in the group. Yeah. So it's not giving up. It's believing that you are here to live a life you love, and then it will happen. And you have to bend. You got to go with the flow, but and you might want to change your goal, but the idea is it is possible. None of us are here to suffer. We're here to live happily, joyfully.
When you speak to this believing piece, but then there's this part of you that may pivot. There's this part of you that may discover that, okay, I loved being a horse trainer, but then I've always had this drive to be a speaker, and that it's okay if in your discovery of taking action, of things, kind of falling to the wayside and not working out exactly how you visualized and how you believed, that, as you mentioned, go with the flow and allow yourself to recognize, oh, maybe this is something I'm interested in, and that's okay. Yes. Dive into that, explore it, and you're proof of someone who's, okay, I love horse training, I love horses, but I love speaking, but guess what? I can incorporate them all in my life and create the life I want. So I still get to help with horses and train. I'm a speaker. I have a podcast. I'm an entrepreneur. I coach people. I am living proof that my mindset and my perspective and my perseverance in finding a way, even when life gets hard, to keep going, taking action, you will get what you want. I absolutely love that. Please continue to share.
So what's happened now is, having got really into speaking, and I declared myself that I would be a speaker, and this is very important. You need to declare. This is something I've learned from so many mentors. You need to own what you want, and you need to declare it, because when you start showing up as, I am a speaker, I am an entrepreneur, I am a motivator, it becomes real. It's not I want to be, I will be. These are not strong words. I am is probably, those are the two most powerful words in our vocabulary. We have to use it. I am. When you say I am, and you say it with passion and emotion and act. If you jump up and down at the same time, we learn this with Tony Robbins.
Right.
Tony Robbins work. Yeah, you have to jump up and down. You have to say it with passion. You have to, and it's not because a lot of people think that's a bit rah-rah, but it's because it makes it work. It drives it into our brain. It drives into our neural pathways in a different way. It makes it real. So I am now a speaker. And then one day, only literally last month, I thought, you know what, I love doing the podcast, but I'm not doing enough speaking. So I think I'm going to do a chat show. And this is the wonderful that we live in a world where we can create what we want now. We have this internet, and you can just go on any platform and produce yourself. And this is for fun. Again, I find that I do things best when I do it purely for fun. And so now I'm working through my 5,000 friends on Facebook, and I've got such fascinating friends. It's like, I've got all these 5,000 friends. I use them for something. And so, I'm interviewing them one after another. We've got amazing people coming up. It's called Real Lives with Lisa. So I have turned from somebody who was literally a suitcase and a 6-year-old 20 years ago who hid behind her horses. Now, I loved my 20 years riding and teaching and training, and I love my horses, but I hid behind it. I was very good at what I did, but it was like a safe world. But my mother dying, bless her soul, and I love my mother so much, that made me have to change. And then when I had to and that's great, like a pattern in front, when everything changes, then sometimes something really good can come, because like, okay, so I'm not going back, I'm not going to go and try and make it with the horses now, I'm going to be somebody completely different. And then I've just kind of gone with the flow. And the more I do what, like the entrepreneur and the speaking, the better I get, the more I love it, the more I can do it. And if you just have to experiment, because I did start last year being more of a business coach, and that's great. But then I actually found what I love to focus on is the mindset and the speaking, thus the Dream Team podcast, thus the Real Lives with Lisa. So, and the Equestrian Mastermind is like now, the Equestrian Mastermind is a course, like a mastermind for people who want to learn to ride for the betterment of the horse. And I'm interviewing, again, speaking really, so it's just speaking again. I'm interviewing the best in the world, the Olympic riders that I've worked with in the past, or the Olympic trainers all around the world. And so hopefully eventually I'll actually make money doing something I love, interviewing incredible people. I mean, what kind of a life is that? Yay!
Oh, that's amazing. Oh my gosh, I love all of this. You provided so many great tips and perspectives and just ideas. And just to summarize them, it seems that this thought process and the journey of believing in what you want and knowing that it's possible while taking action and being willing to pivot and go with the flow of life and shift and explore what's being shown to you, and declaring I am, and really put passion and energy behind it and own the authentic part of you that you desire to be. Find your voice and really show up in life and be willing to experiment with that process. You will find your way. You can live your passion. You can make money doing what you love and making an impact in people's lives. I absolutely love this. Is there one thing, just in kind of wrapping things up in closing, is there one thing that if you could only share one tip with somebody who's stuck in living kind of this passionless life where they're not doing what they love, they're just doing what they have to make ends meet and pay their bills, but they really yearn to do something more, what is one tip that you might suggest for them?
Gosh, and that is so many people right now in tricky situations in COVID. So my one tip is take action on that change, because even if it's just writing it down, start by writing it down and then take action on it. So there's two things really, but it's right. Dare to dream. You can't have a life you love unless you dare to dream. And then don't put the dreams in a drawer. Take action on it. Anything is possible, but you have to begin it. You have to commit and begin. I can't remember that quote by Goethe, which is anything that commitment has boldness and genius in it. There's a famous Goethe quote about commitment, and it's like, so basically decide what you want, write it down, make it happen, and don't give up until you've done it. And that's what makes life magical.
Oh, I love it. I love the dare to dream. And so many of us struggle with that, especially as adults. We close ourselves off to this idea of who we've always wanted to be because life, society, circumstance, environment, just people feeding us one thing after another, and we get lost in who we really are. And that's part of reinventing you, is just what you're saying, dare to dream. Lisa, where can people find you and your content and your information?
Well, I'm a big Facebook person, and but my dream team, thedreamteampodcast.com is where you get Dream Team Live a Life You Love podcast. Equestrian Masterminds on Facebook, you can just put in Equestrian Mastermind. And so, yeah, and just, I'm everywhere. It's Lisa Hamilton Smith. You can find me in most places, but those are the big ones.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much, Lisa, for being here and for sharing your amazing Reinventing You life journey. You gave us so much more than just one story, so I can't thank you enough, and so many valuable tips and strategies that the viewers can take with them. Thank you so much, and we'll share all your information, and let's definitely stay in touch.
Thank you